to go. We are good to go, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. It's been it's been a minute trying to make this happen, but weather, internet, and all those things. So we're here.
We're finally here. Excited.
We're here.
Excited to chat with you,
Yeah,
man.
me too. And you got so you got Chicago coming up. You got Chicago this weekend, right?
Chicago's this weekend and probably Dallas. Kicking around the idea of Anaheim is just like a lot,
Yeah.
you know? Are you Anaheim?
I'm in Anaheim for sure. I was signed up for Dallas, but I'm gonna go. I got to go to. Well, not like I have to. I'm going to a funeral in Vegas next
Mm.
Saturday, so I can't make it out to Dallas. And then, yeah, Chicago. Hopefully for Worlds, we'll see what happens there. Get out there again. That venue is amazing. That was one of our favorite spots to go to. And then I was born outside of Chicago, so that worked out good. We took the family out there, got to see my cousin, and just cruise around the town for a week.
Great spot, awesome town, 2 airports. It's just like it's the right move. I think it's a very
Yeah,
expensive venue just because I think the union's real strong there, and I think it's just like a big, crazy venue. But we're fortunate to have it be stateside this year for Worlds. So I'm just gonna book
yeah.
something and I'm going it no matter what. I'll be there. But
You guys aren't
definitely
going to just
excited.
take over, just take over Paleo's house. Go hang out with that dude.
Make it the party house.
Yeah, dude.
Post
You
party
guys
at
got.
Palaio's. I'm
Yeah.
in for that.
Have you been when you went to Chicago? Did you go to the Starbucks roastery at all,
I did not. They have one
or
in
the
Chicago?
Reserve? It's called the Starbucks Reserve. It's on Starbucks Reserve Roastery. It's right on Michigan Avenue. If you're if you're whatever road goes straight down to the Navy Pier, if you take that up to Michigan Avenue and you go right, it's on the left hand side. But
Hmm. That's not far at all.
they have no. It's maybe if if it's a mile, I'd be surprised from the Navy
From the
Pier.
pier. Yeah.
Yeah, from the pier. But they bring in. It's the only time I'm not trying to hate on Starbucks, but it's the only time I'll recommend going there. They have everything there, all kinds of different beans. They're doing. They were demonstrating like pour overs, so everybody that's going in there that hasn't really been exposed to other types of coffees or processes and all of that, you can go into the Starbucks Reserve right there. And you could try just about everything. It's pretty cool.
You can say what you want about Starbucks, right? But you can easily attribute this whole craft coffee movement to them. Just the way
Absolutely.
that the cafe culture here as well, the way that that came from Italy, and Howard Schultz just brought it over and was like, there's something here. We need to look into this. And it caught fire. There's obviously a need for it. And now it's spread so far and wide, but it really did start with them. I spent time in Seattle. I know there's one of those kind of specialty shops there as well, but I never got a
Yeah.
chance to get over there. I never got a chance to get over there, but that's good to know because they have resources, right? So like they could
Right.
have everything in every place. So that's a good tip. I got time on Saturday. Maybe I'll go kill
Yeah.
time on Saturday.
Yeah. We hit that a couple times, and they actually have pretty good food there too. And but I believe that this coffee shop, it's 3 stories, and there's a the bottom floor is a coffee shop, and then the top they even go into a bar, so they're making like espresso martinis and all of that
Oh,
stuff. Super good, man. And
so you can sit there. It's not like a tour, like a factory tour or something like that. It's like you can
no,
go. It's more like a
yeah,
shop.
yeah, but it's massive. And again, it's just interesting, especially if again, if you're into it, if you've been wanting to yeah, just try. It's like a giant variety pack, man. You could just sip on whatever you want and get a good idea of just different things that yeah, just different, pretty much just what we've been doing, just different
Right.
processes, different from different countries and everything else. And super cool. There
I
was
think there's
another
real. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, go, no, I'm just rambling.
I was gonna say there's real value in finding places like that where you can try different things, and if you can find an opportunity to do like a cupping session where you can
Yeah.
taste a bunch of different things back to back and really kind of like hone in what you like and what you don't like about coffee. I found it challenging to really pinpoint what like putting words to the flavors and the aromas
Hmm.
that I like, right? And if you can have someone like that's a professional, like a barista that can kind of take you through it and can really help you understand like what is acid, like like what is the fruit that you're tasting, why does it taste like that, what from the process or from the roast or from whatever it is that makes it come out like that. So when you go to these shops, you can have an idea. It's like, oh, that should taste like this, that should taste like this, and let me try these different pieces. So there's a ton of value. I've done one or two of those, and whenever they're like, I've talked to you about the local coffee shop here called Corvus.
Hmm.
That is just, it's like the best. It's one of the best coffee shops I've ever been to, and they had that geisha that I posted about, and they're just like really involved with the whole deal. So they always have these events that pop up, and they send me emails now, and I check them out every time. I'm like, maybe I'll go to this event as well. That's how I spend my time now, coffee events.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. It is fun, and you do start to, in the beginning when I would see these different notes and these different flavors that you're supposed to taste, you're kind of like, I don't know, man. But then, like you said, over time you start to at least associate what a grapefruit tastes like. So then you can pull that out of the next coffee, or
Right.
the the anaerobics. They're so freaking, you can get some wild ones, or you can get some kind of a little bit more mild, and those things have been super interesting. Just the different countries, different regions, those will they'll give you all kinds of action. And then, but yeah, it's that has been fun. That is fun. It's neat to go to different coffee shops. I have a geisha coming in, should be here this next week.
No way. From where?
Yeah, that one's coming from Colombia, and
Okay.
so we'll have that one, and then I have
What's the
a
process?
washed.
Okay.
It'll be
Cool.
a washed geisha, yeah. And then I have
That
a go ahead.
I was gonna say I've tested because this place Corvus, they bring geishas in all the time. They have limited releases. I get to try them, right? I go and get them on pour over. And I think that my expectations for something that's exotic is that the tastes are going to be wild, right? Like just the
Mhm.
words that kind of the adjectives that go along with it. But they can be very subtle, like
Yes.
extremely like tea like, and like you
Hmm.
really have to like sit there and kind of think about what's actually going on there, and the taste and the flavors that will come out of it are different, but you need to kind of like your brain might not be blown. Like if you when you had that like having some of these anaerobics that are just like this is insane. But
Yeah.
sometimes with these geishas, they're just like real subtle, like real light, real floral and nice.
It's almost like
But
a
it's different.
just a yeah, just a smooth, even like whiskey or something, right? Like you can sip on it. It's not leaving a, that's the biggest thing for me. It's not leaving a funky taste in your mouth. Just you can just sit there and you can enjoy it. Again, you could, as cheesy as it sounds, you could start your day out right. Just getting there, getting set up for your workout, and you're not just like, golly, man, I got to freaking change this up right now. But people do, because I mean, just different people. Some people want a dark roast, and so I roast specifically for those people, and then the light roast, and then now we're almost about 2.5 3 years into this, and now, even like people like yourself that have tried pretty much all the coffees, they now knowing what you like, I'm able to send kind of more along those lines, or switch it up, try this out, and it's been fun with a bunch of my friends, and just the people that have been supporting the brand in general, getting them to try out new things, and just having fun. Just people, I didn't know any of this, honestly. I didn't know anything about all of these different things as far as coffee goes, and so it's been fun kind of learning with everyone at the same time, and then how to roast it.
Right.
It's been
Right.
cool.
Right. That's one thing
Yeah.
that I appreciate the most about what you're doing there is your willingness to explore beyond what is just, uh, a crowd pleasing medium roast, a dark roast to have to oppose it, right? And then just trying to sell it to the masses, right? You can tell that there is craft behind here and you're trying different things. And that is very exciting for me when it comes to trying stuff like this, right? Because I'm in it for that. And being able to try the different pieces, it has opened my world a little bit more. Something I think about. Are you a beer drinker?
Yeah, yeah. I don't drink as much as I used to, but
Same.
sure.
But
Yeah.
like I'll have some when and it's
Yeah.
same kind of thing. I like to appreciate the craft of it. You mentioned
Yes.
whiskey. I like mezcal. Mezcal is where I'll
That's
go
my
if like
favorite.
that's the best because of
Yeah.
the same thing, right? Gin is like this as well. They're not like bound by restrictions for like the standards, so they can be like very exploratory. But but with trying all these different things, it starts to what I like to think of it as like I feel like beer drinkers when they go into this like when they start to get into the craft beer, it's like IPAs are what everyone drinks, right? And
Right.
it's like that's like the gateway, and they can be like, yeah, it's great. But the real like snobs like sours or they like a pilsner because they could pull these little things out of it, right?
Yeah.
And there's different purpose for different craft beverages. And I felt that same way with the coffee now too, right? It's like, oh, this natural process that's super fruity, different than anything I've tasted before, like heavy strawberry, heavy blueberry. It's just really cool. I feel like that's the gateway. And now I'm starting to really appreciate these washed ones that have a little bit
Mhm.
more subtlety, the ones that are a little bit more acidic up front as opposed to just a little bit more clean to the back. Like it's there's so much to explore on it and figure out what I like that it's just like this whole different journey, right? So it's makes it so much more broad as opposed to being like I only drink natural
Right.
pour overs or whatever. It's like, oh, there's
Right.
different times and how I'm feeling in that moment for what I want.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
be
Yeah. And then
super coffee snob. It's great.
right. Yeah. And then whether or not you want espresso, if you want to pour over, if you're just putting it in the coffee machine, then different if you're putting milk and I was telling Florian the other day, like Paleo and Alen, they sent me a list after I sent them all their coffees, and they had all the coffees charted, um, what they 1 to 10, what they liked the most, what they liked just straight, and then with milk. And they had
Hmm,
a point system. They had a point system associated with it, and
nice.
so and some of them that they didn't like one way, they liked the other way, and it's even been, I mean, like the Ethiopian honey, if you drink that and you put a little bit of heavy cream in it, it's almost like drinking like a blueberry muffin. It's very
Huh.
strange. It's very interesting. And and then the acidity. So I always tell people, like, if they're getting too much of that acidity or sourness in the front, if you put just a little bit of heavy cream in there, then it cancels that out and you kind of
Hmm.
move right into the next flavor. And so that's been really interesting, because getting into it, you do just think of and trying to get everybody to try it black, because if they haven't ever really drink black coffee, they'd have no idea what these flavors are going to be. And again, I didn't either. So just I always tell people, just try it, and then if you don't like it, put your creams or put whatever you want in there. But just give it a shot here, and you're gonna be okay.
Well, that's the liquor analogy, right? Like you take
Yeah.
a nice bourbon or something or a nice scotch and you mix it with something else. Like you're just like you don't need to have such a nice liquor if you are just
Right.
going to mix it. Like there are places where there's different cocktails that a nicer liquor, like a whatever, a spirit forward you could tell. But if you're just like mixing it, crushed ice, juices and stuff, you don't need to do all that.
You don't need
You
all
don't need to
that.
do
You
it.
don't
You
need
don't
all
need
that
to do all
added.
that. No.
Yeah. That's interesting though, that you like mezcal. There's I've not fell in love with it like I'm a boozer, but definitely started enjoying it from the pretty much as soon as I started drinking it. My friend introduced me to it, and so that's been, trying, like you said, trying different ones, and thinking you've tried something really good, and then you're introduced to something else, and you're like, oh, there's even more out there, and just keeps you curious.
And it could be how, like, if you really dig into it, like the story with different coffees and the different producers and the people who are farming these things, there's stories behind. You can
Hmm.
do that a lot with mezcal as well. It's like okay,
Hmm.
and the different agave types that they are allowed to use. So it's because within the certain restrictions or whatever that they're operating in, it's not as strict as like tequila, right? Tequila
Hmm.
is one type of agave and it has to meet these standards. So when you drink it, it's all going to be like pretty similar, but being able to try different mezcals, I found it to be really fun in a community setting as well. It's like hearing what other people want to like get from the same thing that you're getting. And that's what was really great when I started to get into this. It was with some friends, and there was a really solid establishment where people were educated around it. It's the same thing as going to like a really nice coffee shop where people are passionate and can explain it. They know the stories. I found it with mezcal, it's very similar. You feel
Yeah.
worse after, but you get like just just doing a little bit at a
Yeah.
time, passing it around.
Yeah, I've got a buddy. I started tattooing him almost 15 years ago, but he was an ex like Green Beret. He got out of the military and literally sold everything, moved over to Belgium, and then he was doing the only way the best comparison is like a Dirty Jobs. You ever watch Dirty Jobs, the Mike
Yeah,
Rowe
yeah, yeah,
show?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Jeff started doing it was like Dirty Jobs, except he was going to distilleries and different different breweries and all this stuff, exploring these ancient like castles and anyways, one of the last ones he dove into mezcal last year, so he was going to a lot of those farms and really literally diving in and making it with them. I'll send you a link to that too. It's really cool. It's really cool what Jeff's been doing.
Like
And
I've
now he's
read
into
about.
Hyrox.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah.
Another just a dirty, grimy, gritty thing. Dirty
Yeah.
jobs into Hyrox.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Getting the visual of how like these ovens work is really
Hmm.
cool. Like I read about it, but I rarely get to like see I guess I could easily like look it up on YouTube or whatever, but I haven't. But like seeing the process of it all and seeing how abundant the agave is and how big these plants are, it's
Yeah.
just it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they're using the resources that the land gives them, and really pretty minimal outside of that, right? Like the process of it is pretty gritty.
Something just happened to your microphone.
Is it out?
No, it's going. It doesn't sound as clear for some reason. I don't know
Yeah,
what happened.
you sound echoey to me now.
Oh
Let me
man.
see. Okay, mine should still be good. Check, check, check.
And then I sound funky now.
I'm getting a lot of the room.
Oh
You're
man. All right.
yeah, it's like echoey.
I'm taking the sucker off then. How about now?
Yeah, it sounds like it's now from the phone.
Okay, now I can hear you better. So there we
Got it.
go. All right. Sorry about that.
We're
Hopefully it
back.
doesn't sound too crappy.
No,
Okay. When you're so it's when you're as far as what is your day like? So you is your full-time job coaching now? Is that your job?
yeah, yep.
Okay.
With RMR training now, we like to kind of put things in the three buckets, right? It's like coaching, content, and then events. So we've been able to spread things out a little bit and have some different offerings for different people. But yeah, it's been able to sustain full time.
Is it okay, and then how many hours a day are you training?
So I will average with like the training, it's probably like 2 hours a day with a rest day.
Okay.
So whatever that is, 12 hours. But then, getting to where I'm going and like the recovery part of it all takes up a lot of time and a lot of energy. So that I would not consider myself a full-time athlete, but it's probably like half time. Half the time I'm training, half the time I'm building the business side.
And is your wife, does she go to a job site or is she working remote?
She's home as well. So she
Okay.
works in sales and she was remote before it was cool to be remote. So she's been doing the remote sales thing for a long time. And yeah, we're both home. It's great.
Yeah. So you're a couple hours of training and then you're coaching, you've got the regular RMR, you've got the podcast, and then I'm pretty sure I've heard you talk about one-on-ones also, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
so you just create a system, you keep your priorities straight, and you're able to manage that through the day.
A lot of it is figuring out when I'm gonna be most effective for like the task. And I have in the past needed to spread my training out to just to get it all in. So I would right away in the morning wake up before coffee, before really much food, and would just do some zone two work, right? And then come back in and then start the day and kind of get things rolling whenever that would be 8, 9 a.m. before I'm really kind of getting into the flow of like creating creating content or this operating systems that we are working within, or like creating programs and with the coaching side of things, I found that to be that I'm a little less effective for on both ends. Really, I found that when I spread the training out that way, it's very effective to get more work in, but it's less effective for recovery, right? It's just less time in between sessions to recover between the two. So I've found this last training block that I feel better. I feel like I'm recovering more. I feel like I'm more effective when working if I'm just putting big blocks like in the middle of the day. So I can wake up, I can start my day with my typical routine, and then I can get right into the kind of like brain work, which is costly, right? Which is also there is some stress associated with that. But if I'm getting a workout in the middle of the day where, caffeine levels are still appropriate and I'm not completely drained, then I'm fairly effective on both ends.
And then do you ever, it's the feeling of almost being overwhelmed. Like if I'm working out in the morning, or if I get maybe a late start, the dogs were walking slow or whatever it is. And then just thinking about fulfilling orders, getting the shipping going, and then being to the tattoo shop at noon.
Yeah.
Then it's always funny too, because my kids, it'll be like 11 and then they'll say, "Are you going to work today?" I'm like, "I've been working all morning, man." It's it's but what I what I've been trying to do, the reason why I was asking is because I always, when I'm listening to you guys talk about all these miles and hours of training and all of, I'm like, how do you do that? Like
Mhm.
how do you do that, still function, and then also be there, not only physically but mentally, for your wife, for your family, it's to you, there's a point of like diminishing returns, right? And sometimes I watch friends where I don't know if well, I guess it is selfish, where the races and the training almost come before hanging out with their family and stuff like that. And I definitely wasn't I wasn't accusing you of that, but I was talking to my friend Timmy yesterday, and she was mentioning how um, people see these posts, and they see, they hear 2 hours maybe from you, but without really understanding how it's getting broken up. You're not taking 2 hours and so trying to make that happen. And then also for other people realizing that, a half hour, 45 minutes, you're going to get, pretty good stimulus, and you can still get into pretty good shape.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
So a couple things with that, right, is where the reason behind it all, like when we talk about our why, right, is always a
mhm,
concept with training and racing that should be present or at least relatively clear. It might not it takes some digging to really get to the root of why we're out here doing it. And sometimes, oh yeah, I'm competitive. I've always been competitive. I hear that a lot, right? It's like, okay, well, why are you competitive? Why is this important? Right. And a lot of times when for myself, I can say this, and for a lot of athletes that I've come across, they are better people to be around and more effective in their regular lives if they have like these goals outside of just like the regular work or the regular
mhm,
family. So having this piece outside, and yes, it's selfish with the time, but it is taking care of themselves so that they have the ability to show up the way that they can as in terms of being like the best version of themselves. And for me, right, like the training's tied to the business. So
right.
I have a really easy justification for this. So if
Yes.
I don't break out this card, but my wife Amy's like, why are you training so much? I'm like, I'm working.
Right.
I'm
Right.
working on the bit. I'm making content. Come on. I'm thinking and
Right.
like truthfully, like a lot of the time I do come up with concepts, or I am able to figure out ways that training can help myself and the people that I'm in contact with the most. Like that is time that is work, right?
Mhm.
But for others, it might be the feeling of working on themselves allows them to be a better parent or allows them to be a better partner, right? Or helps their stress levels or helps their sleep. And these are all things that do that do matter, right? And that
Mhm.
are real. And it might just feel like a justification to be selfish because you like it and you like showing up on race day and hanging out with your friends, which is great. The community aspect is huge,
Right, right.
but is it making you a better person in like your day to day? And for most of us, I would say yes.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I tell people all the time, um, well, shit, even this weekend we had friends in town and I ate a bunch of stuff that I don't normally eat. I don't normally eat anymore. And then I realized, like yesterday, I woke up and I felt like I had been drinking whiskey and smoking cigarettes the night before just from the food. And, anyways, I go through this mental checklist. Like, if, I mean, say something happens and you start to feel like a certain emotion, you get angry or whatever the case may be, or frustrated, um, or maybe somebody that normally doesn't make you angry is all of a sudden getting on your nerves. I go through a mental checklist of, did I sleep? Did I sleep too
Mhm.
much? Did I eat? And then most importantly, did I exercise? I know that I have to exercise and I have to, like you said, keep these goals. And that was like with triathlon and all of that stuff. There was always something there, not necessarily chasing, but yeah, having those goals and then knowing how well it made me feel. And
Mm.
then also the community part, being like, if I wasn't running or if I wasn't cycling, if I wasn't when we started doing CrossFit here in Redlands, freaking early on, met all kinds of people. And my life now, looking back on it, would not be where it is if it wasn't for fitness. Tattooing first and then fitness. And like you said, getting to meet like-minded individuals. I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here if I wasn't doing,
For
High
sure.
Rock.
Totally.
We wouldn't have never met. And uh and just getting to hear different perspectives, different trying to find out more about myself by asking these questions to people like you. Like, what is it that's making you fly to Spain to go, do these things? Dude, that was emotional for me, listening, following you guys, like following that thing. And then my kids were getting into it, where, how's Rich doing? Where's Rich at? It's like, God, man. And then just listening to you guys talk, I'm like, fuck, this is tearing me up. It was
Well, I'm sorry
wild.
about that Spain trip. I wish that
Yeah.
the family could have a happier outcome with that. No,
Yeah,
but
dude.
for sure, for sure. I totally get what you're saying, and like, why is it so important to go there, right? And sometimes it's about with things like that, right? I have to ask myself about that. Why these extreme measures to do these things? Because that was stupid, right? Even like going to spending all the time in Germany and France before the World Championships is that sometimes I'm like, what is going on? Like, why am I? What is this whole thing is kind of made up? It's like, is
Yeah.
this like, yes, it does. And again, I could do the justification like, oh, it's for the business. It's like this is good for me and for us overall. But I think there's also this concept of just that I try to grapple with about it's almost like figuring like the word obsession is something that I've been like kind of grappling with and if and how it can kind of carry a negative connotation, right? Because it's
Mhm.
so much time and so much effort spent on one thing that it's abnormal, right? I have to look up the actual definition of it, but you would think that it's like if someone's obsessed with something, it's beyond just like a hobby or beyond something that people can really relate to.
Right.
And I think I just get that way. And I think I can get that way. And I like that about myself. So I
Yeah.
want to like dive all into these things and be obsessed with something because other people aren't going to be obsessed with it. So if I want to take what I know and being able to share with other people in the community and the athletes that I coach, I kind of need to be obsessed with this stuff.
Hmm.
Right. So allowing myself to be obsessed and to really dive in all the way, even though when I zoom out, it seems strange. It seems like too much, but just being okay with that and almost and like leaning into the obsessive behavior is something that I kind of have been working on over the past couple of years, and especially with this, like, okay, I don't have a ton of time when it comes to high level competition, and I've almost been given a second life here with this sport and the emergence. So if I'm going to be obsessed with something, like now's the time. If I'm going to
Sure.
go all in, like it can't be later, you know? So
Right.
that's,
Right.
so I think about that a lot too. It's like, do I regret going to Spain? Not really. I would have regretted not going if I didn't.
Hmm.
Like, do I regret, like, do I look at that experience fondly? No, but at least I tried. At least I went for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to wonder. You don't want to have to just think about what could have been or any of that. And then you're right. With you being a coach, you have to represent. You have to show that what you're talking about will work. And I mean, I'm gonna like follow you and listen to what you say more with because of your commitment to the sport. Like you're not. I was thinking about this last night, like with all the Hyrox coaches and things that are popping up. It's I wonder, and not to be disrespectful to anybody that is doing it, but it almost does seem like there should be a level or a time cut to where you can call yourself like a coach, or maybe
Mm.
it's like a degree, right? Like you have like your associates in Hyrox because you can break an hour 20, and then you have this, or your masters once you break an hour maybe, or something.
Some sort of credibility,
Yeah,
uh, something like, yeah, right. Something that they could, a credibility filter.
yeah, something
And
tangible.
Hyrox has a level one certification situation, I think now, but it doesn't seem necessarily to where like, yeah, that you can get on like a directory or they will give you some sort of benefits to meet to their standards, but it's basically just going through their modules. And if you've gone through CrossFit, right, like I was a CrossFit level one for years, and like that experience being at a level one seminar was great. I learned a ton, but it was just filling people in a room. If you had
Right.
the $1,000, like you were a CrossFit coach. And like,
Hmm.
does that mean you knew what you were doing? No, because the test wasn't hard. You just went there and paid for it. So, I mean, this is just something that I think showing up consistently, and I appreciate what you said, just being like that it can speak volumes of like the commitment to it and just being there, yeah, consistently and building trust, because that's going to be the thing, right? Like all these people, and it's a trend how CrossFit was. And it's like, okay, I'm a trainer and I know a little bit about some of this stuff, but and I do these races kinda, and I'm just trying to make money as a trainer and I'm just trying to get by. I'm just trying to eat.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where it is a lot now. So I don't fault these people because they are just trying to grind and get it done,
Yeah.
but they're not gonna continue to show up.
Right, right. I heard you say, I don't know if you were joking or not, but little more recently, I think you said that you wanted to compete in the CrossFit as a master, right? Was that or when you turned 50?
Yeah, yeah. It's like kind of in jest, but I was thinking about this just the other day too, like wanting to be an athlete for life,
Hmm.
and that's never really a concept that I've thought about because I've always just been like, I'm going to be an athlete right now and maximize whatever I got now. I'm not worried about later. But now things are kind of opening up that I'm 38, right? Like I still have time, but I'll be 40 soon.
Hmm.
And then, things I in my training this time, I talked about recovery before. It's starting to become clear, right? Like that there's a level of training that needs to be done that I don't know if I can recover from anymore. And it's starting to come to this like now I need to figure out how I can maximize what I have in a different way, as opposed to just like maximizing by going crazy with doing all the work, doing all this crazy volume, which I like, but it's just not working. But figuring out ways to continue to be an athlete forever is something
Hmm.
that I'm thinking about now too. And yeah, CrossFit's part of that, right? Like I love
Yeah.
it. I love CrossFit. I like the competition of it all. So I I got some work to do, but yeah, I think it's like an interesting idea.
Are you still so with that? Do you still implement, say, like Olympic lifts and stuff like that into your training? Are you doing that kind of stuff?
Sometimes I did a big
Yeah.
block of Olympic training before things got specific here. I was doing some snatch work, and that's really where it is, the overhead mobility. How do you do
Yeah.
it? How do you do with the snatches?
Dude, that scares the shit out of me. I every time if I do even like overhead squats,
Yeah.
I'm so nervous about it. I don't know what it is. It's like just that confidence thing. But the weight, because the weight doesn't, I mean, of course, getting heavy, but even just a weight that I can press for 20 reps feels very strange and awkward once I'm up there. So
Yeah.
I started again going through and different workouts, different exercises that what is the risk, what is the reward, is it helping me, like you said, we're right now with Hyrox, and if it's not helping me with that, then I'm not doing it. But that's really about the only exercise that I've eliminated from my program.
And like you can get the benefits of that, whether it's snatching, overhead squat, because like you said, like the weight of an overhead squat is so much less than a front or a back squat that it ends up being just very specific to the movement of overhead squat. And if it's not in competition, we don't need to do it. Same with
Yeah.
snatches, right? Like you can get the benefit of that explosive power from the ground with cleans, with just like a jumping deadlift, right?
Yes.
Like that
Yeah.
is something where you will get the same extension through your hips if you're trying to train your explosivity. But
Hmm.
snatches is for the sake of snatching. And
Right.
for the most part, people who are doing high rocks, if they probably won't be able to snatch heavy to get the benefit. So why even do it in the first place?
Right.
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 So
It's
I'll
a
do it in the
technical
offseason just to,
movement.
yeah, I'll do it in the offseason just to have like a bit of a project, right? Just to kind of have something to work on. But there's no carryover.
Right. Right. Just see where you're at with where you're 38. I actually thought you were younger for some reason. But
Thank you.
are
Great.
there are there and what about Deka? Are you not you're not really doing too much Deka stuff anymore, or at least focused on the competition part of it?
I love that race. Have you done a Deca Fit?
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Oh
you did the
yeah.
SoCal ones.
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah, I've done those. I've done all of them. I've done all of them.
Nice. You gonna do the Atlas? Have you tested
You
it?
know what, dude? I like the idea of the Atlas. It's pretty much, if there's the less running that's involved, the better my chances are. So I'm looking forward to getting into that one, man.
I like it too. I mean, it's like a it's just a heavy output metcon. It's not
Hmm.
incredibly heavy, so you can still move pretty well, but you're gonna have to have a little bit of technical this and that. Um, but I love the Deca Fit race. I think it's a great test. It just came down to how much travel I wanted to do. The season for Hyrox, it's pretty consuming at this point. And in 2022, the year after I focused specifically on Deca Fit, it kind of ruined my Hyrox season because you need to
Yeah.
be like ready for every single Hyrox because of the way they set up the competition schedule and the way the qualifiers work. So I it's just not worth like the travel. But I love the community. I wish I could get down to Florida just to kind of be around. Last year Dallas didn't go very well, but it was still fun to be there and to hang with the people. Um, so I love the test, but just everything else around it is not my
Yeah.
favorite.
Did you find it all that okay, when I stopped doing triathlons was when I actually right after I did Ironman. Did my Ironman race, went right into Deca, and I don't know if it was the carryover from the triathlon or what. And I was still implementing like some CrossFit metcons and all of that into training, lighter stuff. But anyways, um dove into Deca, was felt like I was doing well. As far as like qualifying for worlds and all that. And then I got into High Rocks, and I felt like I lost that pop. I lost like that
Mm-hmm.
Deca pop, and just became more of that grinder, long endurance thing. So do you feel that?
It's a great way to put it. There is like a pop that you kind of need to get the most out of your Deca. And that's what happened when there wasn't carryover the other direction, right? So I had to kind of take the volume out of my training when focusing on Deca. I didn't have to, but I felt that was the best way for me to be fast and to be explosive. And so I could show up and train and have that pop, or at least train that pop a little bit more. Where Hyrox is such a grind, you know?
Yeah.
And I have a bit in terms of my natural ability, I can tend to do better in the shorter domains. So like when I'm so I can spend time working at a very high rate, but not for like an hour. So I need to spend that time in that Hyrox, like grindy, slow, just building and building and building. So for me, the two didn't carry it almost didn't cross over at all. Like it's the same kind of
Right.
race, but when I was just doing Deka to have that pop to perform well at the race, then when I went to Hyrox, it's like, oh, I don't have any of this grind here. Where some people are more grinders, they can do the Deka stuff and still just have that natural ability to sit and just suffer. I don't really have that. So yeah, the training just it can be complementary, but it's not it like if you want to do your best, you should probably be specific on either.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost felt like something subconscious would almost tell me to take, say, the reverse lunges and then the row and almost not attack it like I did before. Like my mind was preparing me for an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half race instead of 15 to 20 minutes. So and it just got like the biggest thing that I noticed it on was the assault bike. All of a sudden I
Mm.
couldn't put out the wattage that I was putting out on the assault bike. So back to that,
And the
training,
tolerant
training.
the fatigue the fatigues are different, right? The fatigue levels are different where the basically in Deca, it's more just like your tolerance uh to lactic byproduct. And that needs to be trained. It can be trained pretty quickly, but you need to be there. And if it's not familiar when it comes, like you're just not going to have the ability to get rid of it, to shuttle it through, to process it, and just to feel it and handle it.
Hmm.
Where in Hyrox, like we're not there almost ever. Like you might feel a little bit at the sled push in and out, but like you need to pull things way back so that you can continue to finish this big long race. Maybe you get some at lunges, wall balls for sure, but you're never like asked to do it for 20 minutes in a row, right? Like in
Right,
a
right.
Deca, halfway through after that bike, it's basically just dealing with that uh, discomfort for the rest of the time.
Right, right.
Where we're
I
not asked
was
to do that in Hyrox.
yeah, yeah, yesterday just kind of going over not not in depth, but like a race strategy with Tara Jackson, and we were talking about like who would do the we're gonna do doubles, but doing
Nice.
like at what point you don't come out of the gate charging, and then but at what point in High Rocks, and also listening to what you were going through the first four stations or something this week, right, on
Mm-hmm.
RMR.
Mm-hmm.
At Is there a point where at like the row or burpee broad jumps where you kind of go, okay, I'm going to see what's happening here, and because you let it go too long, then you're going to leave that time out there, right? Like you can't make up, say, a minute or two in the last station, or wall balls.
True, true. Have you done a marathon on its own? You've done some tries. Have you done a full marathon?
Yeah, I did LA. I've done the LA marathon.
Nice. How'd that go?
Um, it went, it was going really well. Like it was funny, like mile 19 or 19 or 20, we were going, you go through, it's really cool. It's like a tour of LA from Dodger Stadium to Santa Monica Pier. And
Hmm.
we were on Rodeo Drive where all the fancy shopping is. And I was looking down at my watch and I was like, damn, I'm doing good. I was feeling good. And I honestly, my goal was 4 hours. I was like, I just want to do 4 hours. And at that point, I was on pace. I was at 3:35. I was like, I'm going to finish at like 3:35. And then I came up on my buddy, and he was doing, how people when they're running and they're starting to fall apart, they kind of do that weird, like one shoulder dives and they're like shuffling along.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, are you okay? And he goes, yeah. And then at that moment, it was like I slowed down to talk to him, to check on him. And after that, I was done, man. And it was every aid station was like, I kind of walk through it, and then you'd come around the corners to these underpasses, man, and it looked like a battlefield. There's people just stretching, and everybody's laid out. But anyways, yes, I did do that. That was also, I was in ketosis. It was when I was really messing with
Oh,
doing
geez.
keto. So I
Mhm.
did the marathon. I cooked up a pound of bacon and put it in a Ziploc bag, and that was my nutrition for the race. I just ran eating bacon the whole time. But yeah, anyways, yes, I ended up getting under 4 hours. But yeah, sorry,
Nice.
you asked a question, I
But
gave you a story.
well, you're making my point, right? Like in a marathon, generally, if someone's preparing for it, I tell them not even to think about going faster until about 20.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the ability to go, because you'll have the ability to go faster throughout the whole thing, like you saw, like, oh, I'm on 3:35 pace. I'm the man here because it's just not hard. It's just not hard
Yeah,
until that point. So if you can just keep it cool and you have something at 20, that's your decision point, right? Okay,
yeah,
I can now go faster because I've paced this thing appropriately into this point. Really anything earlier, like if you're at half and you're like, I'm good, like too early. Even like 16, too early. 18, whatever. 18, 20, maybe. I feel that way about Hyrox as well. It's like if you feel like you can race in the sleds and if you feel like you can race in or around the sleds and you start to, you better be like incredibly conditioned because you can't get it back. Right.
yeah,
That's starting your marathon racing at like 10K at like the half marathon
yeah,
point. Where like, yeah,
yeah,
it might be good for the next quarter, but then what's going to happen? So I like to say like after burpee broad jumps, that run after burpee broad jumps, if you have something, if like that's a good spot. Because coming out of burpee broad jumps can be a bit of a toss up for people. Like it's demanding, so respiration's really high, but it's not as muscular. So you can come out of that feeling okay if you are not already spent from the first three stations. So I
yeah,
like that point. I like to circle the run after burpee broad jumps. You're gonna sit down on the row, right? Things can kind of calm down a little bit, and you can pace that out well also because if like whatever you sit down, you want to do a 2 minute generally, and you're like, I'm just gonna do a 2:04 here and see how that goes because that's whatever 8 seconds you can make that up. So like
yeah.
in that area is really where I find it to be like for most people, if you want to race, that's when you start racing.
At the
Anything
row.
before is like a little too early, unless you
Yeah,
just know, unless you're super conditioned. You've done this a bunch of
yeah,
times and you know you can hammer those and hang on. But for the most part, run after burpee broad jumps.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The cool thing, I guess, about the machines is, like you said, a 2 minute um, is like perfect because, as I found out too many times, you go even 150, 155, that could blow you up. And you're
For
freaking
10
done.
seconds of gain, right? Like you
Yeah,
lose it, you'll lose 30, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's kind of one of those things again with the marathon. I don't have this exactly worked out in my head right now, but like for a marathon, they say every second that you go out faster than your goal pace will come back in minutes at the end, right? So if you're like, I'm going to run 7 minute pace this whole thing, my first mile is 6:50, I feel fine. At the end, like it will be 10 minutes to your time. That's just like,
Oh,
it's not like science, but
right.
it's more just like, don't do that because it's not going to work, right? It's
Yeah,
not worth
yeah.
it.
That makes
So I feel
sense
like
though.
there's something
Uh,
like that on the row and on the ski erg that is like every second you go faster than where you should, it's going to come back because it will. Like in the amount that you're going to gain is going to be so little that you're
right.
better off just taking things way back.
Yeah. What for High Rocks, obviously the Elite 15 is the goal, and then you are doing doubles. You are jumping
Hmm.
into pro doubles.
Me and our guy
Yeah.
Pelayo Menendez Fernandez. It's going down.
Dude,
We're
did you ever watch Princess Bride with Andre the Giant?
I've seen it. I was not obsessed with it. How some people are.
Do you remember the guy that would always show up and he'd introduce himself and give his full name every single time he met somebody?
What was his name?
I don't remember now, but every time you guys say Paleo's name, it reminds me of that. The
Nah,
dude, it was like a Spanish three namer. But
I,
sorry, but yeah.
I
So
don't know.
you guys are gonna do doubles.
We're signed up for Miami. I might do something in Houston because that is the same weekend as the Glasgow major. So if I'm not in Scotland, then I will probably do like a contingency doubles with some other partner just in case. Because, Plyo, if he qualifies, if I don't qualify, if it, you never know. So it's better to be prepared for either, you know. But
Sure.
yeah, doubles for sure. That's the goal, is to also qualify for Elite 15 doubles worlds.
And you do have to qualify for pro doubles. You have to qualify at specific races, right?
Yes, in the US it's Houston and Miami.
Mm.
Internationally, I believe it's Paris, and I think, is it London? Paris and London? Yeah, I guess it's not in Germany. And then there's Melbourne in Australia. So we'll get
Oh,
3
okay.
teams from the APAC region.
Heck yeah. And then any interest in the relays, any of that stuff mixed? Is that just something kind of fun pops up every once in a while?
I feel I'm an asset to these relays for these international, for if they do the team thing again for the international pieces. I think I got left off because of my individual accolades weren't as good as some of the others. But for a 6-minute piece, I'm an asset. For a 60
Right, right.
minute, a little bit different. But 6 minutes, I need to be on that team. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping
yeah.
so. I'm hoping I get a call up for, like, if they do the world relay thing again. But I'm doing a relay in Chicago. Relays are super fun. They're just
They
a
are.
blast.
Yeah. Were you serious when you were talking about putting together a B team, the B relay team? Did you?
We tried. Dylan's a hard pusher for this stuff too. He has no problem asking, bugging people. So I think he did try to get that going. They were just like, don't. They were just like, leave us alone. We're doing other
Yeah,
stuff here. We
right.
can't be. If we let you guys in, we'll let everybody in. I was like, well, we would do fine. But yeah, I wished. That'd been great.
Yeah, I guess that is true. They would have made the exception for you. You would have had freaking tons of people calling up.
Everybody asking. That's
Yeah,
and the way that the weekend kind of shook out, there was hardly any bodies to fill one team for the US relay. So I don't know if we would have been able to even have enough people to do it, but it would have been a blast. I
yeah.
would have loved it.
What do you think? This is and I'm not trying to stir any shit up, but I always had
Let's
this
go.
idea. Yeah, yeah. What I I want to see, what I would have liked to have seen is you and Hunter team up
Mm,
on doubles, and just because I feel like you guys would, well, you guys could just yell at each other, and you could push each other, right? And I just feel like, and not, again, not to disrespect any of his partners that he's had, but your, in my opinion, your running and your strengths would uh what's the word I'm looking for here?
just be very complimentary.
Complementary. It would be very complimentary, and just I, and plus it would be the American team. I'd like to see
Hmm.
that. I'd like to see
Hmm.
the American team, or you and Ryan. I mean, we've got some solid Americans, man. There's some solid Americans. Grayson will be in
Hmm.
Chicago this
He'd be really
weekend,
good.
dude.
He'd be,
Yeah,
he's going to be good. Yeah, he's going to
yeah,
be formidable for sure. He's
yeah.
already under 60. I think he's only done one, right?
He did Anaheim,
So
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, he showed up to Anaheim, and that was the first time that I had met him in person. And him and Katie, that was their first race, and just I don't know if you've been around them, but they're about as happy as you can get. Before the race, after the race, no matter what happens, it was real fun. But but yeah, man, that dude, I'm excited to see what he's gonna do. But getting back to that, there's a bunch of Americans, and maybe once more races do come to the states, they'll get a chance to shine and kind of show the world a little bit more of what we have over here. I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think like that if I was to partner up with Hunter in doubles, that we would be a really good team because of the complementary aspect. Like my running would be able to pull him through, and he's just so good at the stations that
Yeah.
it would be a great team. And I think Hunter does need a partner like me or like Palayo, right?
Yes.
But Palayo and I are partners, and that's how it's going to stay.
Yes. 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 Yeah. I was just throwing it out there, dude. Like fantasy draft,
Yeah.
like maybe, who knows? I don't know. It'd be great for the sport too. I think it'd be
Yeah.
really cool to see. And again, not to take anything away from you and Paleo. It's that dude is so cool, and his energy is awesome too. So
Oh, the
it's
best.
great to see.
And that's why I like Palayo and I as partners. He's just like so positive. Like he's down for the team. He like I've no doubt that he will just go all in on this thing, and that we are very similar in terms of our running ability. So he can confidently run fast. I can confidently run fast, and then we just split the work. And we know that when we come out, we're going to be about the same. And it's been a really good partnership. And I think we can take on anybody in this
Yeah,
format. So
absolutely, absolutely. Um, excuse me. When another, well, I don't know how big Nick Bear is in person, but did you? And I don't want to take any of his like secrets or put any of his stuff out there, but is it something to look forward to see him race and see if he can put in some work?
he's definitely going to be able to put in some work. He like
Yeah,
it's not for show. The stuff that
yeah,
he is dead serious about training. He works really hard. He runs well for how big he is, and he seems to his like weight does seem to kind of fluctuate. Like his body composition seems to be different now, even from a couple weeks ago. I think just depending on what he's training for and how much work he's putting in. Um, but he's definitely jacked. He's definitely
yeah,
jacked, and for his size, he has all the tools, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
he's going to really bring a big effort in Dallas.
Awesome.
It's just gonna be a matter
Um,
of the experience, right? Like
right,
how's
right.
the middle of the race gonna go? How's the beginning of
Yeah,
the race gonna go? It's hard. It's hard to do it and to do it well in one shot. But I mean, he's as prepared as anybody in the space, and he works really he works really hard. He really
yeah,
goes after it.
yeah. It is. It is. That's cool to see. I'm excited. These next few races, man. This next month of races between, again in the states with Chicago, Dallas, and Anaheim. I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see what's going to come.
Yeah, Dallas is gonna be pretty loaded up with Nick, and then I think Hunter's racing there. Ryan Kent's going to be racing there. Dylan's racing there. I'm going to go down, and then everybody from the region as well. And there will be, I'm sure, another handful of guys who are hovering around 60, and who are thinking they're gonna have something to say about this big group in the front. And yeah, Anaheim, the California scene's just great. The vibes are always
Yeah,
awesome. Weather's nice. Beautiful venue.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. You were at the last chance qualifier. That when we showed up for that, man, it was crazy. The line to get in, and in a good way. Like it's just been interesting to see. My first one was in Pasadena, and you just kind of walked in, got your wristband, and just walked in. And then each time, the crowds have obviously gotten a lot bigger, and the spaces are getting bigger, and um, the vibe, though, like you said, I try to explain this to people, man. Like every, I've been to CrossFit games, I've been to the triathlons, I've been to cycling, road racing, I've been to all these different things, and Hyrox is able and is able from the moment the doors open until after the relays, it's going strong, man. And it's I can sit there all day. It's like a festival. It's crazy.
Yeah, kind of is. And it's that's a thing that I have a hard time with. Like going to Chicago this weekend, right? Did you see they're actually doing a pre-registration the day before, which is something I
No,
hope that they
oh,
do for the rest of the events, like that there is the ability to go early, like the day before to get your
they
bib or
did that.
whatever.
They did that when we went for the North American Championships. I thought that they
In
did that.
DC?
No, 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 no. In Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Am I thinking of
2
the
years
wrong
ago?
thing? I
Maybe.
think so. But yeah, no,
I don't remember yeah. So
it's a
so
good move. It's a
that's
good
a
move.
great move because what you said,
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's just getting people to so busy. But yeah, it's a
yeah,
challenge I have now, right? Like I want to be there for several of the races throughout the day, but I also got to race well. And it's
yeah,
like the energy is so crazy that I got to pick my spots. So I got to show
yeah,
up and then kind of be out, kind of like be pretty put up some boundaries around that, right? Because I would love to just go and just hang out.
yeah,
But
yeah,
and I was able to do that in Nice because the my race was Friday, I think. So Saturday and Sunday, I was able to go and be a spectator and a fan and a support system, which was really nice to have that ability. So I want to do a little bit more of that in the next couple of months and years too.
heck yeah. We're almost at an hour, man. When I don't want to keep you all day, but yeah, I think I mentioned this, or maybe I haven't, or I posted about it. But when I did start getting into Deka, when I did start transitioning over into this space, I guess, my friend Bernadette, she was the one saying, well, look up reinforced rich, and
Nice.
like, okay. And because I couldn't find information on Deka or anything that was making sense to me, at least, and trying to figure out the stations and the standards. So yeah, so your YouTube videos, those were the first things that I was watching to kind of figure out and get moving there. And then she was the same lady, drop the hammer. This guy dropped the hammer. I was like, who's this guy? And then hearing the times, like I hadn't seen it in person, but I had been kind of doing run throughs, and then hearing the times that you guys were putting up, it almost seemed, it did not make sense at all. I was trying to figure out how you guys were doing, 12, 11 minutes or whatever on these things.
Mm.
And, but anyways, throughout all of it, it's helped me a lot. And then we have a good group of people here in Redlands that work out a lot. And then all through, Southern California, we're always around, but it's the way that the way that you guys train and the information that you put out there has had an effect on a lot of people, and it's greatly appreciated. And the way that you guys go about it, your openness on the RMR podcast, I really love it because you get to hear Ryan talk about family stuff, and Meg's talking about being a mom, and there's more, basically, there's more going on in their lives than just working out. And I think that a lot of people relate to that. And it also helps people kind of go, oh, it is okay to feel that way. So it's like all encompassing. It's a weird, it's almost like I don't know if the right thing to say is it's like a TV show, but it is something that, like what's new on RMR, what's going on here. And, so yeah, anyways, I appreciate your guys' openness and willingness to share information. It has helped me through you. I've got to meet with working with you, of course, like James and Paleo and the cool thing. Another cool thing is going to the races and having other people there that whether it's on your team or the Resolute team, or so no one's alone, creating that community as well. But yeah, I can go on all day about that kind of stuff. But looking forward to see what you guys do next. It's you guys definitely don't seem to be slowing down. You continue to step it up, and it's good, man. The future's looking good.
Well, I appreciate you saying all that, and it does mean a lot. It's affirming that what we are doing is helpful, and that's ultimately the goal, right? Is like helping people along the way, and the community aspect is something that you mentioned at the end. It's it's a bit of an unintended benefit, and something that we've really kind of come across and found that is the greatest value that we have been able to pull together between like the events and just the people that we're coaching, and just like being together is it's really rewarding, and it's great, and it's really fun to have that. So I do appreciate all that. Before we go, I got some beans here I want to talk about. I got some beans.
Okay, let's do it.
I got some beans. So in this most recent shipment you had sent over, I had mentioned how much I was enjoying the La Tijuana, the one from Colombia, the pink Bourbon, that was a wash process because it's super acidic up front. And that's and on the notes, it is lemon, panela, and juicy, right?
Yes.
And that's what I find really interesting with the lemon. It's not like sourness, like lemon is like, but that's what the acidity is.
Yes.
Right. And then you sent a different one, the El Zacatin.
Yeah.
How are you saying this?
I just say El Zacatin.
El Zacatin, also from Colombia. So I'm guessing these are the same bean, but processed differently.
Yeah. So the excuse me, El Zacatin is a pink Bourbon natural.
Yeah,
that one's a natural process. The La Tijuana, right? That was the other one you said.
Yep.
That one's the washed, and then I feel like I think I have another one that's pink Bourbon. That one's I have a honey processed one. That's been one of my favorite varietals, the actual pink Bourbon varietal. For some reason, man, as far as like single origin goes, and pushing that one's been one of my favorites for sure.
And I think that, are these the same producer then? Are they coming from the same place, but they're just throwing one out in the sun and throwing another in a bucket of water?
No, they're different regions. They're
Oh, it says the
but
same region on here. It says Antigua.
it does say the same region. Okay, but it's the same. That it really is the washed one. They ferment it for 48 hours and then basically depulp it and then put it on the drying beds. Whereas the natural, the process, I don't know how much you've read about that. That
A
one
little
is
bit.
not depulped, and then they're just
Right.
drying it and then putting it into the mill. So then you get all of those fruits. That L-Zacatan is almost anaerobic. That to me,
I tried that for the first time today. You definitely get that strawberry. I got a couple sips of having it because of the sweetness and with some of the acidity in there. It got kind of like an orange juice, which is
yeah,
something I didn't expect. I'm like, oh, it kind of tastes like OJ. But yeah, it's been really interesting. So like I would recommend getting both of these
yeah,
because they
yeah.
are almost the same thing, processed a little bit differently. So you get a good sense of how the different process kind of
Hmm.
affects the finished product.
Yes, yeah. It is crazy. Same bean, different process, and so much of a different flavor. To me, it's so much of a different flavor, and smell everything. You open up that
Oh
bag, man.
yeah.
It's a totally different experience.
That was a big like aha to me when I did understand like, okay, when it's washed, because coffee, it's the bean inside of this like fruit. Basically soak it so all of it's gone. It's just the bean. And
Hmm.
then when it's natural, they just dry it. They don't wash any of that fruit. They don't wash all the fruit off. They depulp it, whatever, but there's remnants of it. So it's like, oh, this one tastes fruitier because there's like fruit on it.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah,
sense. It's like dried fruit here. So when you extract it, it's going through dried fruit as well. So you get some fruit flavor. Makes sense.
yeah. It's just sucked it in. It sucks in those fruits. The other thing, like the Ethiopians that I brought in, they're all from the Yirgacheffe region, and then even
Yirgacheffe.
the same washing station. You know, the Koke washing station, but with that, I have that anaerobic, the honey, a natural, and a washed, and all of those are on like different ends of the spectrum, going from the washed over to the anaerobic, and then again, all serving kind of different purposes. But some people, I mean, like some people will drink the anaerobic as espresso, which is wild because that taste concentrated
He's
is
very strong.
insane. Yeah, yeah, but it
I
is it
can.
is cool to give those variety packs, and like you said, um, just give the opportunity for people to realize or understand, if they want to, the how much like how dynamic these beans and these different processes what an effect they'll have. And then you get
Yeah, and
into
that
the
was
honeys, the different honey process, so
it's kind of
yeah,
an in
you go.
between.
Yeah, depending on how much of the mucilage you leave on, you'll have red, yellow, black honey, and then yeah, dude, and then there'll be anaerobic wash, anaerobic natural, and I when I started buying these beans, when I started roasting, I didn't know much about the varietals, or like I got pink bourbon because it had bourbon, and I was reading it as bourbon, and I like
Like no.
bourbon, so it's like I'm sold. And then the anaerobic, I knew anaerobic just through fitness. So I tried anaerobics and honey. I love honey. So that was how I literally was picking out my beans in the beginning.
Just
And
names, but
yeah, yeah,
book by its cover.
yeah, dude. But fortunately they've seemed to work out okay. So
It's like I do like this anaerobic stuff. Deca fits for me.
yeah,
Um,
dude. Yeah.
and then this Thailand one, as it was real interesting that came through. I don't believe I've ever had a bean from Thailand. So I thought that was really cool that this came in this shipment. It was a washed one. We talked about this a little bit online about just like a little bit more clean, has the
Yeah.
chocolatey caramel, uh, maybe a little bit acid through the middle there, but not as much up front as say that pink Bourbon. But again, just a different representation and something unique, right? Like, okay, this is some from a region that I've never tried from. Let's see like if this does vary that much. So again, I appreciate what you're doing. Keep trying this stuff. Keep sending it.
Yeah.
I'll keep drinking it. I'm enjoying
Heck
it.
yeah. Yeah, the Thai, even that Thai, the one from Thailand, the first time I roasted it, I just went really light, and it tasted you could taste like spice, like the herbs. It was really interesting. And then just bringing that roast out a little bit more to where it is, like how I sent it to you, seems to be a solid, just a solid, time, and then under development and all of that. I really like the flavor that one brought out. It's a really good one.
I got to spend a little bit more time with it. There's too many coffees to drink. But
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, man.
So,
Well, thank you, dude. And yeah, I appreciate your support. I look forward to continuing to work with you, and, see you at the races, and again, just see where this all goes, see how it all plays out. And
for sure.
looking forward to, just continuing to just follow along, man. It's fun. It's fun. And, it's cool. Again, it's cool to see.
Appreciate it. Well, thanks for having me on. This is fun.
Heck yeah, man. Thank you. Good luck in, Chicago this weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Let me end this here.